Okay, welcome everyone to the Toku Portal podcast. It's me, Zero, here with.
Rye,
Pixie Cat.
and welcome to Kamen Rider Zero-One, episode 33. Uh, so, Fua picked up an illegally dumped Humagear, a tennis coach named Lucky. Or, no, sorry, Love Chan. I was thinking of something else. Uh, so, he's an instructor for a year 3 middle schooler. Uh, so, Aruto wakes him up. And he's actually a pretty chill guy despite learning everything that's happened since he got shut down. How do you guys like him?
He's okay. He's just a little too into the sports stereotype for my liking. He is too much of a tennis coach. There's not really much personality to him besides, I just want to teach tennis. Let's go play tennis.
Yeah, I agree. He's serviceable, but that's about it. His personality just exists for the story. I mean, it's very basic, and considering he is a human gear, not a human, it kind of makes sense. It's interesting that he doesn't have any connection problems. So he's reached singularity, but we don't even talk about it. I mean, I guess we do with all the dream stuff, but it's just kind of implied that he's reached singularity. Every other time that's happened, it's been brought up, but now it's just I guess if you function, it's just a given that you've reached it.
I think the idea is that we're focusing on the ones that have because they're the important ones to the plot. I mean, not that Love Chun was important to the plot of this episode, but it would have been less important if he wasn't sentient.
Right. I mean, honestly, the only thing he really does is do the dream speech, or at least push that forward. But again, that's mostly to push the UN narrative, and also to push that a human gear could be good at their job and they could be really nice and everything, but what if the human just changes their goals so they don't need them anymore? Right? It's
Right.
well, nobody's the bad guy here. It's just it's a weird situation.
Yeah, it just kind of shows that there. The kid's kind of like, I don't want to do tennis anymore. So I don't want to tell my mom that. So I'm just going to dump my human gear and then make up a story about why I did it. But the humor gear itself, like you said, with the previous ones, it's been important that they've reached singularity. Like they had more personality, there's more to their story. And then we got this one that's, I'm not even sure if he is singular because he's just still kind of following his job description, except at the end we get the little dream speech.
I mean, so we did get an earlier episode about a basketball coach that was more enthusiastic about his job than his programming allowed for. And so I kind of get that same impression from Love Chan here, in that he's more into it than he actually should be. So I think he might be awakened.
Maybe even dangerously so, as when they first activated him and Aruto and Izu went to do the gotta have Aruto, he hit Aruto in the stomach with a ball.
Yeah, I mean that he is intense, but considering he's just a one-shot character, I'm gonna let it slide.
Yeah, definitely nothing to really go overboard over, but yeah, if he was more than a one shot, then it'd be an issue.
Right? So he's he's reunited with the kid he was coaching, who's like, "Oh yeah, okay, I was scared of this situation, but I'm willing to give this another try since he's here." And Love Chan's like, "Hey, deactivating me, like that's wandering the bridge. Like, let's go back to your training. Come on, let's go back to your dream. Uh, so you fucking attacks them out of nowhere because Ames shows up and is all like, "Gotta deactivate the human gear," because that's what they're getting paid for. And Yua just kind of gets into her usual one-on-one fool where she's just like, "You should never become a Kamen Rider. It's all my fault," and starts spraying all this like guilty stuff. Because we later find out that like Fua's entire backstory about how he was attacked by the rampaging Humagear in Daybreak Town, and that traumatized him and made him grow up to hate Humagear and want and join AIM so that he could deactivate the ones that go rogue, was all a lie. It was a fabrication. It was all made up by Thouser to manipulate Fua into behaving in a way that benefited him.
Because Bowser's a prick and he views, apparently, now we know he views everybody as a tool to benefit him. And tools are supposed to do as they're told, according to him.
Yeah, he's a freaking psycho at this point. But I guess we kind of knew that. But like, holy shit. What a piece of crap. But it also explains why like Fua's memory is literally just that one clip that we see over and over. It's like, no, that's it's literally the only piece he remembers.
It also
Because
explains
that's
how he got out.
right. That's also true. It's like otherwise, like everybody else got taken out. But also, especially considering you can contrast it with Arto, is like Arto, you get like multiple different scenes with his robot dad. Um, Whereas like Fua is always that single clip. So I'm like, oh, that's well. I mean, like it explains it. It's kind of shitty.
Yeah.
But go ahead.
I was just going to say also, like, as you pointed out with Aruto, we have multiple different perspectives of what happened. We saw him and his dad and what happened with that. We saw him observing Daybreak from a distance, seeing the explosion happen. And with Fua, all we've ever had is just this exact same memory. And it's just never made full sense as to if it really was that bad, how is it he survived and everybody else died? I've always had kind of an issue with that because we're looking at a very young Fua there. So it's not likely he would have survived.
Like, I did have that curiosity of how he got out in the back of my head, but I never really confronted it because it's like, you know what? Any explanation they give would probably be stupid, so I'll just let it be a mystery. He survived, that's what matters. Apparently not.
Yeah, it was interesting.
Apparently, I should have questioned it more.
It's
I
fine.
think
I
we
mean,
all just accepted it for what it was because we were like, this is just part of the story. We're focusing more on Arto, anyways.
yeah, that's what I was thinking. Usually, secondary writers don't get that much backstory. Like past their first debut episode, or if they're gonna get a flashback, it'll be like like Fua, where it's like it's one scene, and it's like, well, they got attacked. Cut to now because you're the secondary. You're not gonna get the budget for like a full backstory sequence, which is fine. But again, the show kind of knows that's what's expected and plays with it, which is pretty clever. Um, Also, can we take a second and to like just talk about like yeah, we've been talking about like the directing and stuff, but like you gotta compliment like the suit actors because I haven't been doing that much. But like, holy shit, you have to remember that like yeah, the person in the suit isn't actually Yua, right? So like in that fight, when Yua's trying to take the belt away, like that's not actually Yua's actor in that suit,
That's a suit actor playing
right?
the character.
Right, and Yua's like in a studio voice acting, so
Yeah,
like
she's literally like somewhere else, like voicing over that scene as it's playing out.
Right. And so the thing is, like, Ryder does this so well, or they've kind of gotten to a point where they do it so well. You kind of even like forget that it's like, yeah, those are like two different people, right, doing a thing. But it's like, holy shit, that scene was so like it's weird because it's one of those scenes where like stuff's not epic. It's just like, oh right, this is exactly how Yua in the suit would react. But then it's like, all right, these are two different people, and Yua's doing voiceover work. So these are like entirely different skill sets that we don't even notice because Toei has gotten so good at doing this. So like,
Oh
shout outs
yeah,
to
the
yeah, go ahead.
I was just gonna say definitely the pseudo actors are phenomenal in this because my previous experience is Power Rangers, and I mean classic Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, and even then the suit actors they did a great job, but you could tell it was not the same actor. And like watching the scene specifically with Yua's suit actor and having the Yua actor just voicing over, like I had that moment where I couldn't tell. Like I'm sitting there like I'm not sure if this was a cut scene or what because it was just that good. Like it was seamless. You didn't see anything. It just went straight to it. And like she's trying to pull his belt off. You hear the emotion, you see the emotion. The suit actors are really phenomenal in this. And I agree with you. They don't get enough props. So definite shout out to the suit actors.
Yeah, plus like we we kind of overlook like how good of a job at like voice acting some of these actors are, because like sometimes it's like, I mean, like the action writer stuff is easy because it's just action shots. You just record the damn reactions and then play it. But for something like this, it's a lot more work, and that's kind of impressive. And usually what happens is like when you get more emotional stuff like this, you just de-hension them, and then they can have the like emotional moment. Like I'm thinking of Build specifically, when like really heavy shit goes down and they're out of suit. Um, but it's impressive like how much emotion they can do like voice acting wise, because that's not a normal skill set you think of like an actor being able to do in the West. But like Toei, considering like they use like actors and idols and everything, so they have to be able to like act, fight, you know, remember choreography, sing. I mean, like depending on what the hell's required, you might be you might need like 3 4 industries worth of talent in one person for like basically a kids show. It's kind of amazing.
So
Oh yeah, definitely.
this is one aspect that bothered me about like that Power Rangers movie a few years back, where like you spend 2/3 of the movie looking at these teenagers' faces, and then they finally become the Power Rangers in the final third of it. For like about 5 minutes, they're in full suit. Then, as soon as they jump into the Zords, they take off the face plates, and it's like, come on, let us actually like look at the suits here.
Yeah, I mean the reason why they do that is because generally when you're shooting emotion, you want to see the actor's face. That's if you go look at
So,
the Raimi Spider-Man trilogy, it happens a lot.
so
Like the villains
I
take their helmets
understand
off,
that.
or it gets ripped off and stuff. That's why the great thing that Iron Man did is they put in like the in suit like camera. Well, he's basically not wearing a helmet. They just overlay
Yeah, I know how
like
that
the
works.
graphics to make it look like he's wearing the helmet. That's the new way of getting around it, and they
But
use it
like,
in like O's and Wizard and stuff sometimes.
my point is that like, voice acting and suit acting is still acting, and like, like the idea that they take their
Oh yeah.
face plates off is kind of like detrimental to the whole concept of this. And I was looking forward to seeing them like have the suits on and like, all right, we're the Power Rangers now. Let we do it. But then they take the faceplates off, and it takes away one of the aspects of the show that makes it what it is. And like, I was looking forward to seeing how well they were able to, voice act the suits.
Right. It's kind of that like Spider-Man thing of like anybody can be in the suit, because like once you're in the suit and you're doing the action, you're a whole different person. So like just having like not being able to see your face and then being able to see the person in normal life actually kind of adds this nice contrast, because like it's like you don't have to be a hero all the time, but like anybody can be a hero if they try. So like the contrast is important, but whenever they don't even try, it's honestly kind of annoying.
Like, I get the whole point was that, like, alright, take off the faceplate so that the actors can actually act, but voice acting is still a form of acting.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, plus the thing is like, well, this is the other thing. Is like a lot of actors who are really good can't actually voice act that well
Oh, it's a
because
completely different skill, for sure.
right, yeah. And I think that's what generally when like a studio gets scared is like, well, we paid all this money for these actors to act, right? Like if you wanted voice actors, we'd get voice actors.
Right. Like,
Um,
I 100% understand the decision, and it was probably the better decision to go with, but I'm still upset about it.
yeah, that's fair.
So, getting back to Kamen Rider. Uh, Jin, or Hirobi, is trying to get Metsubo Jinrai back together and wants Jin to help him liberate Naki out of Fuwa's mind.
I like how they try, and Jin's like, I tried, man, I got nothing. Um, which leads to what happens at the end of this episode. I was like, that's clever. That they got like one scene, but it was all just set up.
Right.
Yeah, it's really interesting to see that, especially with us getting so much story with Hirobi and especially Jin and seeing his character change from what he was at the start to what he is now, and then realizing, oh crap, my plan's not going to work. Fuck, what am I going to do? And then it's like Hirobi's just like, come back to me and let's work on this together. So I just found that really interesting that we got a lot of development with Jen over the last few episodes, and we're still having that now with him having to contemplate what he's going to do because he wasn't able to do it himself. So now he's going to have to go back to Hirobi and work together with him.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it's kind of nice because it's like they don't have main character powers where it's like, oh, I say this thing, therefore that's what's gonna happen. It's like, no, you had a plan, it didn't work. Now you're gonna have to come up with a new plan. So it's
Uh,
nice that they're doing that.
So,
Right. And we actually get to see that. It's not just brushed over, it's actually put front and center. His plan failed, and not for any other reason than he failed.
so, uh, the kid brings Love-chan back to Arto because he doesn't want him anymore, and like he lied, and basically he scrapped Love-chan himself because Love-chan is too overzealous, and uh, his pushing towards making him the best made him hate the game that he just wanted to enjoy. And Love-chan, still the chillest Humagear ever, says, hey, it's okay if you hate me, but don't lose your passion for the game, okay? You should keep pursuing your dream. While Yua overhears this in the back about, like, all this believing your dream stuff. Apparently that was the magic word.
Yeah, we're getting way too far into this now.
When I was watching this with Vashi, I literally said, good thing she was not in an episode of Fies.
Oh man, so good. I love how like she loses it like a Fly's character too. Is like fuck this shit. I've had it with standing in the corner. Like you're gonna hear a piece of my mind now. Like oh, it's so good.
But she has
Yep.
failed Thouser one too many times. Sorry, Pixie, go ahead.
I was just going to say it was hilarious. Somebody hit the psycho button and it's just like she completely flips out and goes, dreams, dreams, dreams. What is it with all this dream talk with you? It was just great to see her like completely snap and come out of the shadows. Because up till that point, it's just kind of like, what are you doing? You have no purpose right now. Why are you just hanging out in the shadows?
So, US failed Thouser for the last time, so he steps in himself, reveals the tragic truth that Fua's entire backstory was a lie, and that puts him into shock long enough to keep him at the fight, while Yua finally turns on Thouser and fights back against him.
Finally, about freaking time. One too many episodes too long for this to take place. I was just ecstatic that she finally turned on him.
Yeah, no,
It's like way
I,
overdue.
I can agree that it went on too long, but like while everyone else was complaining about what the show has done with Yua, it's like no, no, no. Like this is what they're gonna do with it, though. This is what I was waiting for. This is why I wasn't as upset as other people were because I was waiting for this, and we finally got it.
I.e., me. I'm sure Vashi has told you he was sick of me complaining. But
Zero,
it was just taking too long for me. Like I hated it. I knew they would do something, but it just was way too long coming. But
zero.
then seeing the Thouser episode, it made sense. They should have put a little more of that into the main episode.
No, I'm just gonna let Pixie finish your thoughts, then I'll go.
You're good. You can take off from here.
Sure, sure. Thanks. Basically, yeah, a little too long, but honestly worth it because it kind of just showed that like Bowser's a piece of shit. Like we kind of already knew that,
Like
but like we didn't know how much of a piece of shit he was until this episode because I'm like, okay, if one he told Yua's like final chance, and then it's like, no, fuck you, I'm gonna do your job for you, and then it's like, nah, I'm just gonna basically betray. Oh, you're gonna betray me, huh? Fine. You wanted to keep the secret. Here you go. Here's your damn. Here's the truth. Anyway, it's like such a piece of shit, right? And then like after they fight, like he goes and he just guns down everyone from the old team because like Yua goes back to the van and then she just finds Shell. So I'm like, well, those two guys are dead, right? And like Yua was gonna be next.
I just
Like,
imagine that every time we talk about how much of an asshole Thouser is. The actor who plays him is just like doing like the Mr. Burns like finger thing, like
oh yeah.
excellent.
Yeah, it's true, right? Like he's the best. So it's like, yeah, I'm playing this
What gets
character.
me is the
Okay.
freaking glasses.
Ugh.
Those glasses that he wears for every like I'm better than you situation. The glasses just magically appear. He has them on, but we don't see him wear them at any other point.
I know it's true. It's freaking
And it's
great.
sad because I thought nobody could be worse than CEO Crazy Pants from X8, and then we get Bowser, who's like way worse.
Oh man, you have no idea.
Like, what the heck? And the fact that he's just like, everybody's a tool. It don't matter if you're human, robot, the ruler on my desk, I will kill you if you let me down.
It's so true. He's so like okay, he's very like classic villain, but like honestly, it's nice that it took
With
him a
that extra
while to come
spice.
out. Oh man, it's so good. Um,
And then, if we
it's
can for a moment, back to that fight, we actually, for the first time in a long time, got to see Rushing Cheetah and is it Wasp or Hornet?
Lightning Hornet.
Lightning Hornet. I thought that was neat that we didn't get just one, we got both.
oh yeah, plus the first Lightning Hornet Rider kick, I think,
Yeah, I think so.
because usually she just does the blast. I think.
And then Fua regains his composure to help join in the fight.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna get to next. Is like one. I mean, that fight was great, and that Rider kick's freaking amazing, especially because like, oh Thouser, you thought you like countered it, but it's like nah, the full Rider kick has the kick and the damn like gun blast right in the face. I was like, oh man, so good. But what did you guys think of like Fua recovering so fast.
Like, so Fuo was out for like a few minutes, and then when he finally comes back in, he's just like, I'm just gonna fucking destroy Zaya Enterprises. And it's like, so he was clearly going through an internal conflict of like, who am I if my entire reason for being a Kamen Rider was all a lie? But he seems to have come to the same conclusion he's already achieved, which is every one of my problems can be attributed to this one guy, so fuck him and his entire company.
Yeah, like it was. I kind of expected it with as what we've seen from Fua from the start. He's never been a weak character. So even in moments when he's been like seriously deadly injured, he's still, "Grr, I'm gonna go fight." So I didn't really expect this to have a whole lot of a big impact on him. It just kind of stunned him for a moment, and then he's just like, "Yeah, fuck it, I'm going after you anyway." So I already decided I didn't like you. I was going to attack you from the start. So what? You gave me a bad memory, but I've done decided my course of action because you don't control me.
Right, like his motivation changes from fuck this guy who gave me a traumatic experience in my childhood to fuck this guy who made me think I had a traumatic childhood experience so he could manipulate me like a tool.
Right. Um. Honestly, yeah, I agree. If it was any other character, I would have given them at least an episode. But then again, like the circumstances were extreme, where it's like Yua needs his help. Plus, Fua's kind of just that much of a blockhead that he'd just blow it off pretty quick. Plus, even he says like, yeah, that used to be my motivation, but like I've moved past that. So like, I feel like if it was any other character, I would have liked it to take a little bit longer. But Fua, I'm okay with because I think it gave like there was enough reasoning for why he came into the fight so quickly. Maybe it'll have a little more impact going forward, but like honestly, considering he's already moved past that story arc, I'm gonna let it slide.
And
Yeah.
also, this may just be more of a setup for Naki to be released because now he really doesn't have any need for it because now he knows everything with that shit's bullshit.
Like I like at first I was concerned debating like does this destroy Fua's entire character? And I thought on it myself and I came to the conclusion of no. Bowser's just an even bigger asshole.
Right, exactly. It's like, oh no, he ruined my childhood. It's like, no, he blew up our town, mind controlled me, right? Like treats all of his employees like shit, like destroyed basically the human gear. And like, fuck this. This is bigger than me. Like Zaya, the whole company needs to go down, right? So like, it makes it actually less personal, which makes Bowser an even bigger asshole.
Yeah, like they're doing a phenomenal job making sure that everybody hates Bowser. Like if you didn't hate him before now, you really hate him now.
And then uh suits are down. Bowser and Yua are in civilian mode, and Yua performs the real finisher.
Holy shit, that
Her
thing was amazing.
fist.
This one's for me.
Oh my
It
god,
even
so
does.
good.
It even does the finisher text on screen.
Oh
I wish I
man.
had some way to bring that on my camera. This one's for me.
Oh,
Bash.
that was
Pow!
so
Right in the
good.
kisser.
And the fact that right up to that point he was still being a complete confident jerk until she got right up on him and he's like, "Oh shit, not the glasses."
Not the face. Consider this my resignation.
And then we get the badass walking into the sunset.
That was so good. Honestly, like fuck it. I'm willing to forgive everything just for that because they knew like all right, beating him in the fight was okay and like Fua with the assistant and everything. Like that slightly cheapened it, but I'm like, nah, you know what? Fuck it. He ruined Fua's life too, so he can get in on this. But that finishing shot, with the finish. I'm like, oh no, they know exactly what the fuck they're doing, right? Like this character needs this. I'm so down with that. Also,
And then
going back a little, it's interesting seeing how back in the fight, like Arta's like, oh good, they're done, right? Then he beats the guards. So like, it's not even that he's having a hard time. It's just he's just occupying them so Yua can have her one-on-one fight.
yeah, I was going to point that out too, and that with this one, it wasn't an Aruto fight for once. This was solely Yua and Fua,
Good.
and they just kind of justified that by having two guards on Aruto, which in previous episodes we know he's been able to handle.
So, uh, Love-chan decides that he's gonna go pro before Izu quickly points out that Humagear can't go compete in professional sports. And then the middle schooler encourages him to become a little kid's coach instead. And everything is fine. And I just kind of justified as like, well, maybe if he's like teaching a beginner course rather than trying to train someone to go pro, then he will calm down a bit and not be so overzealous. I hope.
Possibly. But there's one issue with all this.
Only one.
They said at the beginning that, well, there's plenty, but at the beginning they said that he does not own the contract to Love Chan. His mother does. And they just kind of gloss over that fact.
Well,
I
that's pretty
guess. I
big
guess I
one.
was supposed to just be the justification of like, yeah, middle schooler doesn't have the money for this shit.
Fair enough. I was also gonna say it's like, aren't Humiki a band? How's he gonna work in a school?
Technically, no. Humagi are not banned. They were recalled by Hidden Intelligence. However, Aruto is now CEO of Hidden Enterprises and is reinstating them.
Yeah, this is great. Until like a mob of parents, right? How dare you put a human gear and have them teach my kids? And then you have a giant angry PSA meeting. Not PSA. Yeah, parent
Yeah,
teacher
but that makes for bad
conference.
TV, so we're not going to see
I
that.
I know it's true. It's true. Oh man, so good. Well,
I want to speak to your manager.
I was gonna see like, it has there ever actually been one? Hmm. I'm maybe Kuga and Hibiki.
uh,
That's the only time I can think anything like this would come up. But like,
this
I don't
did
think
not
like,
happen in Kuga, actually.
yeah, you're right. I mean, they were teachers, but they were like preschool teachers, so it's fine. Um,
I've got to watch this
Um,
now.
well, I mean, Kuga wasn't like Kuga's sister is a preschool teacher,
uh,
right? Like Kuga's really interesting because it's like, what if monsters showed up in the real world? And so it's like, well, shit. Guess what? Now there's like an advisory warning, and like, don't, like, the trains are pretty much all empty at times, and like people are considering should they even have kids in a world full of fucking crazy monsters who kill like 200 people in a go. Um,
yeah, over the span of like 3 days, too.
3 days, right? Like because the Kuga monsters are in like the fucking murder Olympics.
Yeah, they hunt down humans like game, but rather than catching the biggest one, they're going for numbers.
Going for numbers, yeah, yeah. Kuga's
Gotta
in.
get them kill points.
That's literally what they're doing,
That's
though.
literally the thing.
I'm going to hell.
And like they set like boundaries on themselves. Like they enforce these own
Limits.
rules to make a game out of it. So like one of them can only like kill people by like what color they're wearing or something like that.
Oh yeah, and then like one of them is like, oh, do you ride the train at on this line at this specific thing? It's like, well,
Oh
that
yeah,
train
no.
cars me.
She goes onto a train, like a random subway, releases like a perfume scent on everyone, and then after they've like get off the train and scare about, she starts hunting them down,
Oh,
Right.
wow.
tracking the scent. that she
And
left on them.
that's one of the not crazy. I mean, that's
That
still pretty high,
she's one of the like high ranking ones that's like super skilled at it.
right? I mean, that's before the second wave show up, who are like the ones that use tools and technology. Because then it's like, oh, you kids in your short numbers of a couple, like what, like 100 or so. Here, I'm just gonna kill everyone on this damn freaking 747. Like, enjoy, you know. And that's in like one go. Or yeah, I'm
Wow.
just gonna murder everybody on this bard. Or like yeah, it's like a like cruise, well, not cruise ship, but like it's kind of like a ferry. So that's like 300 people
Hmm.
just gone. Like, holy fuck, man! Like, the kill count in Kuga is insane. And plus, the thing with Kuga is like they actually account for the explosions, because the
Oh
stronger the
yeah.
monster is, the bigger the explosions get.
In the second
So
half of this series, like they have to start luring the monster away from
away from the cities,
the cities, and so the police force are directly working with Kuga to like find areas where it's safe for him to do the finisher.
right? Because if the monster explode, it's gonna take out a couple buildings.
Which is never an issue in Sentai. The buildings just magically replenish themselves.
There, there is an episode of Shinkenger though where like Shinken Red meets this school student who's really sad because his dad died in one of the giant monster fights.
Holy
Oh
shit!
shit.
Yeah, and Red has that realization of like there are civilians dying when we go out there.
Right. I was like, what the hell is this? What is it, like Denji Man or whatever? They just like attack the building, and all you see is just blood come out.
Oh shit!
Like, everybody's fucking dead.
Oh my god, Denji Man is brutal.
Like, yeah, it's one of the like 90, or like it's early 90s or late 80s Sentai. Yeah, it's just like it's the one where like there's science based, but um whatever. If it's like one of the ones with the man, so there's like five of them. I don't know which one it is. But basically they're like, I think like science, like they're like going to be astronauts or something. So there's like some kind of like space science thing going on with their base.
Oh yeah. 90s was all about blood and space and science. I don't
Right.
think of
Th-
And
anything at that time period that didn't have one of those in it, if not all.
this was '80s.
oh shit, yeah, that would explain it.
Well,
Because
80s
by
was the
then,
precursor to the 90s.
yeah.
It
Well,
just
it's
carried
because like
over.
Japanese censorship
When it comes to
laws.
anime, like it just carries over. There's no difference other than a little
Yeah.
better graphic.
Dude, I was watching actually. This is funny because I was just going back and rewatching Slayers. Like, Slayers is super
Oh
interesting
man.
because like the main characters are so just like they're really competent, but they're not good guys. They're like neutral as as good. So they're like really savvy adventures. Oh, it's fucking great. But the weird thing is like the main attack they have is fireball, and it's just like, oh right,
Yes.
I just
And it
land
blows
and
up
just like
everything.
fireball everyone. I'm like, holy fuck, you just murdered like
I
this
can't
whole
control it.
right. I mean, like nobody dies because it's still a comedy anime, but I'm like, realistically, you just like 30 people in like the
I've
first two
watched
minutes.
Slayers, so I know what you're talking about exactly.
Yeah, I was like, damn, that intro was insane.
So,
So, anyways,
final scene of Zero-One. Yua is off on her own when Hirobi and Jin approach her. Hey, we heard you're unemployed right now. Care to help us do a little job then?
Yeah, I mean, I do love how like this kind of ties back into the point she made where it's like, you're a piece of shit, Thouser, and like I'm an engineer, and like you've kind of pissed me off as an engineer because I believe technology should be there to help people, and you've just, you're just turned what I created into this complete shit show. Um, which again kind of leads where it's like, oh, what's her character gonna be? It's like, all right, now we're gonna focus on the engineering thing, which is really cool because it kind of ties back into this writer tradition of like female engineers who help out the writers. There's been like quite a few. I'm thinking like the last time was like Akari from Ghost who helped out a lot. But then you have like Rina from Drive, and like Shroud from Double, and like it goes back a lot. Like the most famous one would probably be um Ozawa, or like basically the leader of the G3 unit
Oh yeah, she
in
literally built the
Agito.
G3.
Right. And that's the thing. It's like this is a really, like, it's a writer tradition of like the female, well, maybe not the main female characters, but sometimes, who basically pretty much power up the writers or build the countermeasures and shit. It's because like, oh right, they can't henshin, so they have to do something. Which
Yeah,
is
and
super annoying, but I'm so glad you actually gets to be an engineer and a writer, because like it's about time.
yeah, and at least with the ones I've seen, like you printed out, we had Rena and Dry, but you also had oh gosh, what's her name? The
Kiriko?
girl he ends up falling in love with.
Yeah,
So,
Kiriko.
Yeah, Kirito, and then you have like Poppy and Xaid.
Oh right,
So
yeah.
you have a lot of female characters who help the main writers get power ups or power up or design things for them.
going back to
So
Kuga, there was the scientist
Yeah.
who literally designed his
The
motorcycle
countermeasure.
and all
Right.
of the weapons used by the Japanese police to help him fight.
Right. So basically, like, she saved more lives than Kuga did, because like all the cops would have had nothing if she didn't build them. But like that, she has a really interesting story because like she's a single mom,
And like
and
her work starts enveloping her life.
like it really like takes a toll on the relationship with her kid, and like they actually kind of delve into that, where it's like you get like another side character, like you get Jin. Yeah. Basically he's like a university student who's helping like Kuga's friend. Um and like basically his thing is like he like never really had, well, he had parents, but they were pretty distant when he was growing up. So it's like he helps her see her son's point of view. Like they kind of have like a relationship thing going on by the end of Kuga. Like it's super interesting. It's like probably like the most mature relationship in all writer, I would say, because it's got like nothing to do with the writer shit, and it's like, hey, you've got problems, I've got problems, let's deal with it like an adult, like adults do. um so yeah, theirs is super interesting. I was also thinking of like, yeah, like in Agito you have like two people. There's the one who helps, like, who's the scientist lady early on, who helps Hikawa, and then like there's the leader of the G3 unit. um Fies, there's not so much Ryuki. I mean, you have like Yua. I mean, not Yua. Yuki. No, Yui, who's basically the whole plot of Ryuki. But like, she's not that much of like an engineer. But you have like reporters, and they're pretty proactive.
Rinko.
Uh, yeah, Rinko. Rinko's freaking great.
and then even
Um,
Hana and Deno.
oh yeah, like so much
The
I
so.
number of
love
times
Hana.
she just knocks someone out.
Yeah.
Even
Um.
as a kid. Like we're at
Okay.
that part now. Me and Vashi have gotten to that part now and Deno where she's become a child and she's still beating up on the Imagines.
Imagine, like, yeah, that's her gimmick. It's freaking great. Um. Right, and then you go to Blade, and you get basically the person who operates the tracking device, that like finds out where all the unknowns are. So like
Oh
she's
yeah.
super important, right? And like, yeah, spoilers. So I'm not going to talk more about her backstory because that's pretty big spoilers for
Yeah,
Blade.
no. They leave it at that.
Yeah, but the main
Right.
point is that Ryder has a good running of having a strong female in either a supportive role or an engineer role. So we're getting a nice retake on this with Yua being both.
Yeah. Plus, she gets to be a writer finally, which, like, aside from Poppy, like, pretty much not never happens. Right. Like Kiriko's the most annoying one because like everybody wants her to be the writer. literally the main, like she gets the armor as like transparently put on her for like a gimmick shot and then never again. I'm like, fuck off. It's so annoying, right? But
Hmm.
like at least Yua gets to do it, which is freaking cool. And I'm really excited for her to do like engineering shit because like that keeps her relevant still. Because that way it's like, well, she gets to decide. Plus, it's a little ambiguous because where it's like, are you on the good guy side? Are you on the bad guy side? Like, what are you doing? Like, technically, helping the human gear is the good thing, but it's like you're technically still kind of strengthening the bad guys. So she's still an interesting character. Plus, she doesn't have to rely just on being a writer because right now she's kind of the weakest out of everyone. Well, I mean, Bowser, I guess, technically is the weakest out of everyone, but he's gonna be dead soon, most likely at this point.
Yeah,
One can
so
hope.
Thouser isn't relevant anymore. The last, like, because, like, alright, he's already achieved his goal of buying out Hidden Intelligence. He's failed his goal of shutting. Well, actually, no. He succeeded his goal of shutting down the human gear, and Naruto is just bringing them back now because he can. The last thing Bowser had was Yua under his thumb, and he doesn't have that anymore. So all literally, and the heroes can defeat him at any time. They have proven that they are stronger than he is. Literally, all that's left is for Bowser to be defeated.
Yeah, I mean the thing is like you can't even say he has loyalty because he two,
Sorry,
right?
you
Like how long are the other two gonna be loyal?
right. So like, really, all he has is that he has Aruto's old company. But like, how much does that even matter if Aruto start when Aruto started up his new one?
And we don't even know how much of that he has because when Aruto left, both the vice president and his lackey said that they were going to take care of the company. So if Bowser starts becoming too much of a problem, they may pull some stuff within the company against him, especially if Aruto's company starts gaining traction. And
Yeah,
all
I
this
mean,
gets revealed of how Bowser's actually running things and behind all this.
oh, okay. We actually have a couple of comments. First one saying, well, we're still in the guy Bowser getting his ass kicked phase, but I'm saying
Yeah.
once May rolls around, it'll be the end. I'm thinking, yeah, it's gonna be pretty soon.
See, that's my point. Is that we're still in the fuck Bowser arc, but like we should resolve this already because there's nothing left to keep it going.
Yeah. And then their next question is, do you expect Arto will get Hidan intelligence back and when do you expect it to happen?
At the
Um,
like either I expect it to happen when Bowser is officially defeated, as in like his final defeat is that he loses Hida intelligence somehow, or at the end of the series, one of the two.
yeah, see, my thing with this is like I don't even think Hidan intelligence is all that important.
It's
So
not.
like so I don't see any reason to give Arto the company back. Like maybe at the end of the show, but like Thouser is gonna be defeated before then. So it would make sense to give him the company after Thouser is defeated, but I'm like I don't see any purpose for that to happen, right?
Um, I
I mean,
see that, like you said, it's not so much heat and intelligence itself, because at the bare basics, it's just another office building. So with Aruto making his own company, I could see something more like a merger happening between the two, and the companies become Aruto Intelligence or something like that. I don't know if he'll actually keep the Heathen name. He might not. But I think it's going to
Artaja
happen.
Naito Enterprises.
Gotta have Aruto Enterprise, presented by Aruto.
oh my god. That's pretty
Oh
good.
man.
But yeah,
Oh.
it's
Well,
definitely going to happen not long after they fully defeat Bowser. Depending on what happens with Yua, I think there's possibility for a big expose to come out and showcase, this is what was really going on. And people will go back to Aruto's favor, and he'll just have maybe all the companies. Maybe he'll buy out Saya too,
no,
and
I don't
he'll
think
have all of them.
well, I
Nah,
think
just
Zaya
dissolve Zaya.
well, no, he can't own it because Zaya is a world renowned company. Like it this is just one branch. So like I
Well,
don't think
yeah,
he's
it's
gonna
now
get
part of Eden.
no, Hidan's part of Zaya. Like it's a subsidiary of Zaya, not the other way around. So like
I mean,
like
if there's nobody to run it,
well,
he could
the
easily
Japanese
take
branch, I
Saya.
don't think the Japanese branch of Zaya is the
I
like high
pretty
enough.
sure no, I'm pretty sure the Japanese branch of Zaya is like the corporate branch, like the HQ.
Anyway, we'll see. Like honestly, like I don't care what happens to Zaya at all. I Arto's probably gonna get Hidan back. One because he needs the manufacturing capabilities, and two, like satellite uh, Thea is still locked down, so I feel like he has to get back into that office. Um, Also comments. I'm predicting Bowser power up. Arto and Izu almost die.
Oh
Get fused to
no.
for final form. Kick Bowser back. Um.
Like
Oh,
that
also there's spoilers for I guess the next thing. Um. So Arc Zero. I don't know what that is. Probably somebody else.
that's a spoiler. That's a spoiler.
Yeah. So they're saying maybe that person kills Guy. Arto get Hidan intelligent back, and that's basically their prediction. Oh, they're saying Arc Zero could be the mystery person.
Like that's a spoiler. Like that
Uh,
is that's coming off of like the toy scans that came out the other
yeah.
day. Like
They're
that
also saying, yeah, they're also predicting the summer movie villain will be the international branch CEO of Zaya. That's the commenter's prediction. I could
that's
see that,
hmm,
Yeah, totally possible.
right? Because that's sort of what happened in X8. Is like, oh, right, and other companies besides Genom Corp exist. So yeah, I could see that happening. That'd be interesting.
Yeah, we had that happen with Xaid.
yeah.
Um,
So
but these are pretty interesting predictions.
yeah. So just a heads up to our listeners that not everyone on the podcast follows the toy catalogs and such, so not everyone is up to date on the spoilers.
Yeah, which I mean, I'm fine with, but I'm not sure how much the listeners are caught up on the toy scans and stuff. So yeah, I'm trying not to
So
super spoil it.
yeah, so in general we just don't usually talk about those things on the podcast outside of like subtle hints or without prefacing like all right, spoiler section.
It's fine. But
But yeah.
yeah, I should have fucking mentioned spoil. Uh, those are pretty good predictions, honestly. I could definitely see the summer movie being like somebody from Zaya showing up. They're saying like international Zaya or American Zaya CEO.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
yeah, like
I mean, we did see that with an Xaid when the other guy showed up. Oh, I'm so bad with names.
yeah,
But
it's
we
M
thought that
something
it was
company.
finally over, and then he shows up and he's like, "Oh no, this is mine now. Here, you got to do it all again."
Um, so next week's episode seems to be setting up Metsubo Jinrai's return as the villains. So I hope that we don't like step away from Thouser for too long because like that whole plot line with him really does need to just finally be concluded. Uh, One of the comments said something about maybe he gets a power up. I really hope not. If he was going to, it should have happened already. I feel like at this point he's played out and just needs to be settled.
Yeah, I mean, like, unless
Yeah.
Naki is gonna show up to kick Bowser's ass personal, like, there's no point of having him around. Also, the commenters saying, if the predictions are right, I should be the future writer for Toei. uh, yeah,
I
man,
mean,
wouldn't that be
unfortunately, we don't
great?
have Vashi here to vouch for that because Vashi's usually pretty good at predicting what's going to
Predicting
happen.
stuff. Yeah. Um,
But
Honestly, like I was not expecting it to line up so well, but I'm like knowing Xaid, like it could go down that way too, which kind of makes this writer a little predictable. But fuck it, this writer's fine enough, so I'm fine with that. Also,
and
like
wasn't
yeah,
this
if any of us could actually get on Toei's writing staff, like it'd be amazing. But honestly, if it's like fuck it, holy shit, we just got oh I know, like if Toei's like here Zero, we're letting you write a series, the first thing I'd be like, okay, everybody who ever wanted to write a series, what are your ideas? Because like it'd probably be just me being like, all right, let's stick everything in.
Okay, well, I have a few ideas,
Um,
except they're all being done in Kira Major.
Wow. Okay.
um,
That's amazing.
but
Like,
I was going to say that I think right now we'll probably take at least 2, 3 episodes and focus on Mitsubo Jinrai and Aruto's company and see some build up and development with Yua and Jin and Hirobi. Get a little more info on what's going to go on there. I mean, Bowser might get a power up, but I don't really see how that's going to happen with Yua not being there anymore because Yua was the one who was creating everything for him and giving him the ideas on how to do this stuff. So I don't see him getting a power up, but I do see us having like a few episodes, at least 3, where there's no Bowser. And then he'll probably reemerge to be like, stop it, this is mine, and try to interfere in between Mitsuo Jinrai and Aruto, and then he will get his butt completely kicked and destroyed once and for all by both of them. I want to see them both kick his ass.
Yeah, I feel like Matsubo Jinrai and Thouser are gonna switch roles in the story, or like screen time anyway. So it's like Thouser is just gonna be here, but he'll just be maybe like a scene or something, kind of losing his shit in the background for like a couple episodes, and then like once Matsubo Jinrai is fully set up and like the new dynamic with Yua is set up, and like Arto finally goes back into like character development mode or whatever. Um, Bowser's gonna show up just to get his ass kicked at that point,
yeah.
and then it'll be over.
You know what I want? I want one episode, the entirety of the episode, and only the one,
Hmm.
dedicated to all of Bowser's illegal activities catching up with him, and he gets fucking arrested.
Maybe. I mean, like, yeah, that'd be nice, but like,
Like, I don't want it dragged
he's
out
too rich.
because
He's too rich.
like I don't want it dragged out because I feel like Thouser is already played out, and at this point, the only thing that will satisfy me with him is to see him get all of his comeuppance at once. Yua's character episode here was great, but for Thouser getting what's coming to him, like it just needs to all fall apart on him.
Okay, so
Yeah, but
oh, go ahead, go ahead.
I was going to say that I just see like the best way this is probably going to end with Bowser is he's going to get his butt kicked by both, one or the other, probably both. If it goes the way I'm thinking they're building it up to, he's going to intervene at the wrong time, and then both of them are going to kick his butt. But we got to remember, Yua's been with him this whole time, and she knows how to tap things, secretly record stuff. So she may end up leaking stuff out, showing his bad side and all the crap he's been doing. So he just gets not only beat the crap out of, but then he gets into legal troubles and gets hauled off to jail or something.
I mean, to be fair, like Fu was already on his trail, so I could see that happening. Also comments. So yeah, that's a good point. Like, if we don't kill Thouser, having him go to jail would be something like that'd be a pretty decent comeuppance.
I feel like killing him at this point isn't an option because this show has of dodged actually killing any real person too many times for it to just
Well,
happen.
like as the commenter said, like what if a villain just kills him? So I'm like, well, yeah,
Sorry, you cut
that's
out there. What if who kills
yeah.
him?
What if like a villain, the new villain, just shows up and just
Oh,
ends
if
Bowser because
anyone from Metsubo Jinrai does it, except for Jin, I'm totally down for that. And the only reason I say except for Jin is because Jin's character arc is that he step away from caring about whether humans live or die. So it would kind of regress him if he did that.
yeah,
But
that's a good
anyone
point.
else, like especially Hirobi.
Oh yeah, because basically like Harobi and Guy are basically the opposite, especially considering the color scheme is basically the opposites too. Their rider suits, at least. So it makes sense. Also, I've been trying to get back to the comments. And yeah, so they're talking about like I hope we have a nice segue if the hiatus for Zero One and Cure Major goes on in the future, since we don't know if beyond May both Cure Major and Zero-One will have new episodes, or even Summer Movie too. And then they're saying the other prediction is multiple Jinrai might turn face, and the true heel is for Zero-One's going to be the Arc.
I want to say we might be
Uh, and
we
they're
might
saying the Arc will truly appear on the last 10 episodes or so, final boss of the series, by the time the next Kamen Rider will be revealed.
well by
Oh, and then Vashi's saying, I want Arc Zero to be to end Thousand Island.
Fashi's in the comments. What?
He just showed
Yeah,
up.
he just woke
so
up and he said
so
it's too
okay,
late for him to jump in.
it's not, but we are gonna end soon. So okay, so a few of those things.
Thoughts on
So
all?
first of all, I do think it's plausible that the arc will itself will make their appearance like in the final arc, wherever the final arc takes place, like maybe the last 10 episodes or whatever. I'm still hesitant to say that they'll be the final boss. That is the most like predictable scenario, but also kind of the most boring. But like I'm sure that they could make it work, depending on the execution. Um, there was something else in there. Oh, right, the
Oh, the
hiatus.
hiatus.
So I believe Toei is going to reopen either next week or the week after. And so I want to say that if we do get a hiatus, it might only be a couple weeks at this point, if at all.
Yeah,
They might
I believe.
actually be able to push episodes out.
Well,
Yeah.
they were shut down for like a month at least, so at least 4 episodes would be short.
I mean, it's just really going to depend on what all's happening at that point in time. Because, I mean, we also got to remember the state of the world at the moment. While in other places stuff is slowing down, Japan just started firing up with this virus. So we may have a hiatus, we may not. It depends on just how it goes there. Because I know
Well,
here, like, we're starting to open things back up, and we haven't really hit a high peak or anything with it like other places have. So if Japan does
yeah.
the same as we're doing, maybe a couple episodes
Well,
hiatus, if anything.
no, I mean the thing with Japan is they actually did have a slowdown for like they shut down the country pretty much for 2 weeks. And then they reopened it up and it didn't work, so they had to do it again. But this whole Toei hiatus thing is one of like the actors and like some of the
The
crew
red
got
for
sick.
Kira Major.
Yeah,
Kira,
the Red for Community
uh,
definitely was in the
he,
hospital.
yeah, he was the confirmed case that made Toei shut down. He is He was released from the hospital. He has been confirmed to be recovered, and then Toei said, "All right, we'll give you a couple of weeks to, recuperate, and then we'll reopen."
Yeah, and then the comment saying Pretty Cure and One Piece have indefinite on hiatus and their Toei properties, and I'm like, those are animated.
Yeah,
Where
Oda's
Yeah, I was
still
gonna
drawing.
say we gotta remember there's a big difference here between live action and animated. When we're talking
well,
about anime companies having to shut down, it's multifaceted. There's the voice actors, there's the drawers, there's the colors, there's the sound, there's music. Anime is a lot more complex than people realize, and there's a lot more moving parts to it. And if any one of those parts isn't up and running, they can't do the anime. Whereas
yes,
when we're looking at Kamen Rider, Sentai, Superhero Time, that's all contained in one spot. It's only one company that's doing all of that. You don't have quite as big of an operation when you're producing a Sentai or a Kamen Rider. You still have,
well,
yes, you're dealing with actors, but the music's usually already pre-recorded, it's usually reused. So it's not as intensive as it is with animes.
yeah. I mean, but then again, Toei has their own animation studio, so it's a lot more in house, just like their live action stuff. But you're right, anime has a lot more things that can hold it up, especially considering it's a studio system. So it's like, well, if one person gets sick in a studio, they have to shut down the whole studio, right? And like anime
Yeah.
production has like multiple steps and stuff. Whereas like live action, not as bad because like you just one crew person got infected, and therefore like you can kind of contain it, and it won't like shut down the whole production, but
Right.
what
And
happened
then
is just for
depending
safety's
on
sake they had
which
to shut it
actor
down.
or at person got sick, they may be without that person, especially if they're to that point in that episode or that story that they don't really need them. So
Right.
there's also that possibility too, where they can keep going without that.
Yeah, I mean, um well, yeah, basically the thing is like as an okay, the anime studios, they they need a lot more people in a lot smaller space, and therefore more shit can go wrong. Whereas writer or I mean live action, it's a lot more easier to replace people because it's like one person does one job. You can replace that one person and still do the job. Whereas like anime, it's like you need a whole production line. That being said, like hopefully they don't have any more problems and nobody else got sick once they come back. And even if they have to put it on hiatus, I'm fine with that because at least it'll finally fix Ryder's goddamn schedule. That
I mean, we're kind of at the point where even if it did go on hiatus, it's not really going to affect that much. We're already at a good stopping point for that to
Yeah,
happen.
right, exactly. Um, yeah, well, I was just talking about because the next show might get postponed, and I'm like, that's fine because like then we can go back to starting in January like Sentai does, like Ryder used to do.
So
But Decade screwed up. Yeah, go ahead.
they offset that on purpose because they wanted to offset the toy sales so they weren't colliding with each other. The problem was
Right,
that Decade was only supposed to be like
like
20-ish
half its long.
episodes. Yeah, like
Yeah,
20-ish episodes, but then Double wasn't ready to air in that short amount of time, so they may had to rush another
to 32. Yeah,
like a
or 30
like
something.
yeah, like another dozen or so episodes of Decade, so it offset it too much too
Right,
much.
and
Like
that's why like the problem happens where it's like out. Oh shit! Look at this insane number of forms right before Christmas, right? And like then it slows down a little bit after Christmas. um, like this show, not so much, but holy shit! Like Xaid, it's kind of bad. Like Build is the worst. Like it is just the worst with how many forms it has. But like yeah, the whole problem of like we have Rider suits and they have like forms and forms and forms
I
and like
I
every episode they get a new form is because they have this condensed timeline rushing to Christmas, which the offsetting was supposed to fix, but the delay fucked it up super hard.
I do want to say though that Build pretended that the bottles mattered even after Build started getting the stronger forms, much more than this show where the progress keys just straight up don't matter when Aruto starts getting his power ups.
I mean, it's sort of similar to X8, but I think X8 did it a little bit better because um, all the other writers had the same power up system. So it's like, well, I don't need this, but I can give it to like Brave or Snipe or whatever, right? And they can still use it. Whereas here, it's like they all have their own drivers and shit, and it doesn't matter. And honestly, at that point, like I'm at least glad that they're not just pushing out new forms for everyone else. Because I'm like, all right, we've all concluded that they don't matter at this point. Like only the power up forms matter, so let's not try to fucking bring back the weak ass forms. Like it would be cool if a single writer still used one of those gimmicks, but nobody does, so there's no point, right?
Except Hirobi.
Um,
Hirobi actually still uses his base form.
yeah, I know, but he doesn't use the abilities of the other one,
Right.
right? And plus, like Hirobi is like okay, his base form is busted anyway. Like it destroyed Daybreak Town,
that,
right? So
that's
so like he's not
that's a
exactly
bit of an
weak.
exaggeration, but yeah.
Okay, like he's basically the Liangle or Wrangle. What? How do you say here?
Lee Angle.
Yeah, yeah. The Liangle of basically 0-1, which means like his base form is like equal to like mid season power up or more, depending on the story. So like he's pretty busted in that damn form. Right? Like I think Jin could kick his ass, but like even then I had to roll the dice on that, right? Like that's how busted his damn base form is.
All right. So thanks for joining us tonight, everybody. We'll be back on Tuesday for more Kier Major, and next Wednesday for more Kamen Rider Zero-One. Thanks for joining. We'll see you next time.
Yeah, thanks for joining us everyone. Thanks for commenting. Shout outs to Malaysia. Um yeah, catch us on the next one. Finally, we're kind of winding down on Thouser's nonsense and US free, so hopefully good shit shows up, which it looks like it will next episode. Maybe even Naki gets free. That'd be cool. Yeah. See you guys later.
Thanks for joining us. And just to clarify, I'm not hating on live action versus anime. It's just I know a lot more about anime than I do the writer stuff, so that's why I'm a bit of an airhead when they're bringing up other stuff. But it's apples and oranges, so that's why I was going on that a little bit there. Didn't mean to add any hate, but
No, no, no. That's perfectly fine
um,
because it's the clarifications needed because like the anime's got postponed or shut down,
and I've been closely
whereas
following a
Toei's
lot
been
of the
going
anime
for it.
studios and what they're saying and why they're shutting down. So that's why I know a little bit more on that than I do the writer stuff. But just wanted to clarify there's no hate mentioned there. They're both awesome. They both deserve props for what they do and they accomplish every week to keep us entertained.